And good evening, baseball fans, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have a ton of baseball to talk about. We've got the home run derby going on live right now. We had the draft just this past weekend. We're at the All-Star break, which means we are at the mid-season point of the year. And of course, here as always to join me to talk some baseball and have just a bunch of fun, it is Freddie B. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Doing awesome, Mike. Good evening.
Get the applause going for you.
Thanks for having me on again, Mike. And
absolutely.
We've reached technically the halfway point of the season, and we've got lots to cover and lots to preview and expect for the second half.
Absolutely. And by the way, and I know we discussed this last week, but every time I think about how we're 97 games into the season and just getting to the All-Star break, it just makes me.
I know.
That's my feeling on it. All right, I'll stop with the sound bites, folks. I promise. I won't load it up too much for you this evening. But of course, before we dive in, if you are a fan of the show, please do follow us on social media on X at ISR_DMV for yours truly and at FreddieB_sports. And with that, let's get right into it. We've got our current score update. Now you might be thinking, well, Mike, it's the Monday of the All-Star break. There's no games on. That is correct. There are no games. However, we do have the home run derby going live right now. So far, 4 participants have gone. A fifth, Ben Rice, is currently going. He is at 5 home runs with 4 swings left. So he's going to put up probably a good, not great number here. Currently in the clubhouse, we have Contreras and Jordan Walker are our 2 leaders with 13 each. Then Munetaka Murakami put up 9 and Jack Caglione put up 8. So Walker and Contreras looking pretty solid. The other 3, Rice included, who now has 6 home runs with 2 swings left, might be in danger, as you do have arguably the 3 most dangerous home run hitters left to go in Caminero, Schwarber, and Harper. Freddie B., what do you think of this layout so far?
I'm digging it, man. It's simple. Just trying to get back to the basics. They've extended these home run derbies where they've gone way too far, and I think now with getting 20 swings, I think is the way to go. And we're seeing some more realistic numbers now. I'm really excited to see. We got 2 Phillies superstars coming up here in just a matter of minutes with Harper and Schwarber in their home ballpark. I cannot wait to see what kind of a show that they put on for the fans.
Absolutely, for sure. And by the way, the MLB.com Home Run Derby tracker is also adding up the total distances of the home runs in real time. Contreras hit 1.1 miles worth of home runs in his first round. Walker not far behind at 1.05. Ben Rice in the bonus round, which I'm not entirely sure how the bonus round works with the new formula. I guess we'll find out in real time, but we'll see how Rice can finish it off. We do have a couple of people in the chat room with us as well. Adam Karnick jumping in saying, raise your hand if you had the White Sox with more All-Stars than the Cubs. I can't raise my hand. Can you, Freddie? I can't.
No. Shocking, right?
Yeah. And then, Your Honor, I'd like to point out that everyone that raised their hands is, in fact, a liar. This is a proven fact. It does not need to be checked whatsoever. And Larry B. jumping in, wishing us a great show. Thank you, Larry. So that's where we are with the home run derby currently. And it looks like Rice is now finished. He has 7. So he is automatically out at the bottom man so far. Yeah. He is done for the night. And I'm going to go on the record and saying I don't think Caglione or Murakami move on. I think at least 2 of these 3 are going to get to double digits coming up here.
Oh, at least 2. I think the 2 Phillies guys will. And I'm interested to see what Junior Caminero can do. I mean, this guy's been, 20 home runs over the last, 30 games, something ridiculous right now, kind of a streak that he's on. Tune in, watch us, have the the home run derby going on in the background. We'll give you all the updates as it goes on.
Yeah. Have us with the headphones on because you don't need to actually listen to the commentary of the home run derby.
That's
I
right.
don't. It's not Chris Berman anymore, right?
No. Back on.
Gone. Yeah, no. If it's not Chris Berman anymore, there's no point in listening to the commentary.
I do love
Also,
Boone
Adam
Shambi
Karnick.
or whoever it is, but
Yeah, Adam Karnick is rooting for Schwarber. Makes sense, the former Cub. Or I'm surprised he's not rooting for Murakami, though.
That's a South Sider.
What's going on?
It's a South Sider. They don't root for the others.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I suppose that's right. Anyways, so moving on now to some baseball news, not too terribly far from Chicago. We did have one positive this past week. The St. Louis Cardinals signed infielder J.J. Weatherholt to an 8-year, $112 million extension. The rookie, who is having a tremendous season, and I believe I spelled his name wrong. I do apologize. Add an extra vowel in there. Hitting .259 with 13 homers, 36 RBIs, and a .755 OPS. Also a 3.8 WAR, as he has been tremendous so far in the field at second base for the Cardinals. Just overall having a very good first season. 23 years old, Baltimore kid as well. Will take him through all of his arbitration years, his years under control, plus another further 3 years. Freddie, what'd you think of this move here?
It's bold. I like what the Cardinals are doing. They found a gem in JJ here, and locking him up to an 8-year deal puts him through 2034 right now, and then he's got a $2 million signing bonus coming up in November as well. I mean, $14.606 million on the average salary right there for him. I think it's outstanding. If you think about some of the other guys in that position, I think he fits in perfectly. And the upside he has is tremendous right now. The Cardinals, still having a really good season up to this point. We see in Jordan Walker, the kind of season that he's had right now, and then what he just put on the display here at the home run derby as well. Yeah, I mean, in comparison, this is kind of strange here. This 7-year deal, or his 8-year deal, kind of reminded me of the 7-year, $100 million deal that Albert Pujols signed with the Cardinals back in 2004. So that's kind of where this contract ranks in terms of that. Now, is J.J. Weatherholt the same, Hall of Fame player as Albert Pujols? I don't know, but obviously, 20 years with inflation and everything like that, you can't add. It's not apples to apples. But I think it's awesome. Good for him. Take the money.
Right. And, for the most part, I mean, there are a couple of exceptions. Like, obviously, when Bobby Witt Jr. signed his large extension, I think he had already made a couple all-star teams, won a Gold Glove, already had some tremendous seasons. There is a benefit to getting these guys locked in this early, and we've seen a lot of teams try to do this recently. Obviously, the Braves kind of became notorious for doing it, locking in their core while they were still under team control. Now, there is a strategy to this, on Weatherholt's side. Weatherholt was not going to get $14 million in a single season until probably arbitration 3. That's usually the year that the second to last year of arbitration is where the numbers really start to ramp up, especially if you've been a star player. Now, if you're not a star player, if you're not putting up great numbers, you could get all the way through arbitration and not see $14 million. So it gives him the more money now at the sacrifice of, when he would have normally made it to free agency, who knows what kind of contract. But he gets the security, he gets the guaranteed 8 figures, generational wealth right there. So great for him. And for the Cardinals, they pay a little bit more now. Well, actually, probably a decent chunk more over the next couple of years. But, I mean, in 4 to 5 years, if he keeps playing this well, it's going to be a bargain for them for at least a couple of years to have this guy under that contract. So there, you might be looking at it come 2030 and go, wow, that guy's only making $14 million this year. That's incredible.
Yeah, good on the Cardinals getting him locked up. and we'll see. If he can continue this success. We've seen guys in the past that have inked some big deals, and then their careers have kind of gone the other direction. So I think it's all upside for JJ and the Cardinals.
Yep, absolutely, 100% agree there. Taking a switch to a little bit more depressing news, the Athletics, this was announced earlier today, actually, have dismissed pitching coach Scott Emerson amid their recent 9-game losing streak, which has them second to last in the American League East and, well out of a playoff position. The Athletics entering the All-Star break had a 5.21 ERA, which is the second worst in the major leagues behind the Colorado Rockies with a 5.44. Of course, Colorado plays in Denver, where the ball tends to fly a little bit more. But the Athletics have also played in some weird stadiums with other, kind of dimensional things working against them. But I think, this might have been more of a product of, hey, we were division leaders at one point in the season, and now we've gone on this horrific skid, culminating with a 9-game losing streak. We're 14 games under 500, well out of the playoffs. Somebody's got to be scapegoated, and our pitching has been pretty bad. But Freddie, what are your thoughts on this move?
I think this is the first one to go for the A's, and like you said, 3 weeks ago they were right up there at the top of the division. We were talking about Gage Jump and how well he was pitching, and some of these other guys that have been doing really well for the A's, and all of a sudden, they can't get guys out, they can't get deep into games. 5.21 ERA, unacceptable in Major League Baseball for your starting rotation. That's terrible. Dan Hubbs, don't know much about him. He's going to be the interim pitching coach, but I think what I mentioned, this is just the first domino. I hate to say it, and I really like the guy, former Cal State Fullerton alum, took the Titans to the College World Series in 1995. But I think Mark Kotsay is on the hot seat as the manager right now for the A's. Mm-hmm. The lineup is good. I mean, you talk about a guy like J.J. Weatherholt getting that big contract. Well, the A's did the same thing last year with Lawrence Butler, and he's done absolutely nothing in the time that he signed that contract, the end of last year all the way through this season. That could be, that reverse effect of something like that, overpaying for a guy. So, the A's now 6.5 out in the West. They lost it quickly. But, however, if they can get hot, they're not completely done in the West, as, the Texas Rangers and the Mariners and even the Astros are still, right around that 500 mark. So if they can get hot, we might be able to see, Oakland make a push. But I think we're going to see them being sellers at the deadline, and I think Mark Kotsay is going to be the next manager to get fired.
Yeah, that's not an unreasonable prediction there on a couple of fronts, the sellers at the deadline. The only problem is I'm not sure exactly what they're going to sell, because you got to think they're going to want to keep their young core together, but then everybody else is doing bad. So, who but they will sell. It's just a question of who.
It's not that too. I mean, you got the whole situation with the Sacramento and the Vegas. There's it's not good right now with the Athletics.
Right. Absolutely. And, you're right. First domino, but we've seen, not too long ago, we were having very similar feelings and conversations about the Red Sox, and now they've gone on a streak, and now they're half a game out of the wild card. Same with Detroit. Detroit's kind of worked their way back. They're a little bit further back in the standings, but they have certainly fought back. But some of these teams in the American League, they're going to get cold and stay there at some point. We've seen it with, the Angels were never hot. Let's be real about it. The Royals, they got cold, and now they've just dropped to the bottom. I think they're done for. The Athletics might be the next team. There's that group of teams that are right on the edge, although the Athletics aren't even really on the edge anymore. They're the third worst in the league, and that puts 10 teams ahead of them that they have to jump to make the playoffs. Or probably not 10. My math's a little bit off.
Yeah,
seven. You got to jump 7 teams to make the playoffs.
They went 3-17 over their last 20. They need to come out and go 17-3 over their next 20 to get back into this thing in the American League, because you got teams like Tampa and the Yankees that are going to run away. Like we mentioned, Boston's got that awesome pitching right now, and I think that's going to lead them into a wild card spot. We both talked about it as the one team that was below 500 and out of it that can maybe make a rise, and we're seeing that right now with the Red Sox. The American League is a dogfight. I mean, you've got the Rangers with a 1.5 lead over Seattle. Seattle's kind of been up there the entire season. They still have guys that aren't producing. I mean, Big Dumper is having a flat out awful season. They do have the pitching that can carry them along the way. And then you have the Astros as well, playing really good baseball. Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez just seem to carry this team, year after year.
Yep. Absolutely. So we'll see how that evolves. But yeah, just not a good situation for the Athletics there. Other big news from this past weekend, arguably the biggest news from this past weekend, was the MLB draft, which happened on Saturday and Sunday. Ross Chalowski was the number one pick to the White Sox, the pick that was guaranteed for up until about 2 months ago. Then people started debating maybe it was going to be Colt Emerson. Van Lackey's name made its way into the discussion. Of course, those guys go 2 to Tampa and then 3 to Minnesota, respectively. Do not worry, folks. We are not going to go all the way down all 700 picks that there were, 600, 700. I don't even know the final number. Actually, let me give you the final number here. I'm just curious. It's always... Let's go all the way down to the bottom round. 613. We are not going to go through all 613 picks. But Freddie, what were some of your favorites, and what were some of your moves that you really liked?
It's funny. We just talked about Drew Burress being maybe one of the most underrated, but possibly have the most upside of an outfielder, and he gets selected by the Oakland Athletics. Great move for them there. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of the Colorado Rockies in their organization right now. Picking up Tyler Bell at number 10 from Kentucky, a big shortstop. He can be good. The Rockies are starting to turn things around. You're seeing them playing a really exciting brand of baseball with these young guys, really producing. So I like what they did. Down the road here in Anaheim, they go with the local kid out of Huntington Beach High School, Jared Grinlinger. He's a two-way player. He can either be a left-handed pitcher, but I think his bat is where he's more suited. So we can see him in an outfield position, possibly in the Angels organization. I think Zion Rose was kind of like a shocking pick to me as far as that goes. I think he went a little bit early to the Royals, but you know what? They had their advanced scouts scouting him, so we'll see how he plays out in his future in Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the Rockies, not just their Tyler Bell pick, but I really like their second pick, Daniel Jackson out of Georgia, the catcher. Yeah. One of the best, probably pure catchers in the draft. And the reason I explicitly say that is because, the catching position is one of those weird ones. And you look at Van Lackey with his athleticism and his, hitting prowess might end up at some different positions.
You know what I'm thinking right now with that pick? I'm thinking of, possibly him being, the future of the Rockies, and they can be moving on from a guy like Hunter Goodman, who's having an outstanding season right now. His stock is going up. He could be a guy that you can hold on to and then trade off for more assets and stuff like that. That's how the game works. But I do love that pick. I'm surprised he was not selected before the Rockies chose again. I love that pick. He was the second best catcher in all of college baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Phenomenal catcher, phenomenal pick there. And you're right. You bring up Hunter Goodman. That is a great note. He's been a very popular discussion as a trade target for the trade deadline coming up, and a very popular mock trade pick to the New York Yankees, who could use a catcher of his prowess. And I think that's such a glorious fit. And, the Yankees are always wheeling and dealing at the deadline. And maybe pick does kind of solidify, especially with a guy like Jackson, who we know not just a really good player, somebody who's probably going to progress pretty quickly through the minors, given his experience and his prowess in college. He is probably not going to be down in those ranks very long.
Hey, Mike, one of the craziest picks, and I think this is so awesome, was Trey Ebel being selected by the Milwaukee Brewers. His brother Brady was just selected by the Milwaukee Brewers the year before. I mean, you talk about good genes with Dino Ebel. He used to be the third base coach for the Angels. He's now with the Dodgers. And, I mean, he's got two great kids, both being selected first-round draft picks by the Milwaukee Brewers. That's a pretty special feat to accomplish.
Is an incredible feat, and congratulations to them, and of course congratulations to all these guys who got drafted.
Oh yeah,
it gives you we talk about it, Larry and I talk about it every year when we do the NFL draft recap and do those shows. Is it gives you the chance, it gives you the opportunity, it gets you in the game. And even for the guys who aren't drafted, it's a little bit harder in baseball because there are 613 guys that just got picked ahead of you, but you do occasionally get some undrafted guys that get signed on and work their way up. We actually have one right now who I know, Trey Gibson of the Baltimore Orioles, was actually an undrafted player, but he's worked his way up and he's now a top pitcher in the organization. So Adam Karnick throwing in a couple thoughts here. With these prospects not seeing the show for 3+ years on average, how do you tell who won or lost the draft? Well, the theory here, it's the same as every other theory, is you don't know until they make it, right? Like, everybody can have their initial reactions, but you really just don't know. And especially in the baseball draft with so many rounds, so many different guys. I mean, guys getting picked in the 8th, 9th, 10th round might be in your starting rotation in 4 years, or, they might work their way up. They might be in the outfield, infield, whatever. So to answer that question, I can't tell you who won right now because we won't know for a decade.
Bleacher Report has the Boston Red Sox with a grade of a D from the draft, and we could see down the road that they may have had the best draft. You just don't know.
Right.
Obviously injury, any kind of setbacks, things like that. You've got to maintain. I think whoever has the best total athletes is always going to have the best chance for their guys to be the best, because you can move them around into different positions. I mean, that's why we see so many shortstops go and be converted into other positions around the infield or even outfield. So it's hard. It's hard to tell. The Milwaukee Brewers also get a D, but then you got, teams like the Yankees and the Phillies and the Twins that graded at A's. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Quick home run derby update, because it's been moving quickly since we've been talking. Junior Caminero finished with 12, so he will be moving on, guaranteed. And Schwarber with 10, so narrowly sneaking it in. So that eliminates Ben Rice is out, Munetaka Murakami is out, and Jack Caglione is out. And Schwarber or Harper will be moving on. It'll only be one of the two. Caminero, Walker, and Contreras will have their spots in the second round. So there'll only be one Philly in the second round of the home run derby there. Back to the draft. Yeah, no, I liked your picks. I did really like the Burris pick by the Athletics. I thought that was a great pick by them. I liked the Reds sitting tight. Well, sitting tight, obviously. You can't trade up or down, but I liked that they pounced on the opportunity to get Justin LeBron out of Alabama. They got him all the way down at 18. I thought that was a great pick. I thought he would go a lot higher. Also, like the Marlins pouncing on Jacob Lombard, the talented high school shortstop. Another guy might end up at third base, possibly move around, but ultimately I really like that one. A lot of really interesting underslot picks in the first round. I think we briefly touched on this, maybe not last week, but the first draft episode. Teams are given a certain amount of money to give as signing bonuses to their draft picks. And it's a pool. It's not like the NFL where there's like basically a specific value for each slot. You get a pool, and teams use that to, manipulate it. And, high school players typically require more money because there's a chance that they could just say, oh, well, forget this. That's not enough money. I'm going to go play college ball. and stuff like that. So that gives this really interesting strategy and nuance, and why you see guys like Zion Rose, who was, at least by MLB.com, ranked as the 30th best
Yeah,
prospect.
yeah, even further down the road, you got Carter Beck getting selected by the Braves, the outfielder out of Indiana State. He was ranked 193rd, and he gets picked 26th overall.
Yeah, and then Carson Wiggins, the pitcher out of Arkansas, who, by the way, Wiggins, in addition to, being rated lowly, was also one of the highest risk guys in the whole draft because of his injury history. The Mets take him in the first round. He had a late third, early fourth round grade. So, a lot of this very interesting tragedy. And then these guys turn around and take guys who fall a little bit, and then they try to oversign them, overslot them to get them to sign on. So it's really interesting to see how teams do it. I don't know why you don't just go even all the way down.
You know what? To credit the Giants too, picking up two great pitchers in the first round. They took Jackson Flora, number 4 overall, and then they get another pitcher, Carson Bowman, with the 29th pick overall as well, and he was graded a little higher. He was like a 24th ranked draft prospect. So the Giants getting 2 top 30 pitchers is going to be great, especially in a division in which starting pitching is so critical.
Yeah, and then they also, in addition to that, they got another talented high schooler with their second round pick. Caden Wachter, who had committed to Florida State. So I think there's a sign. You talk about the Giants, another team that's probably going to be sellers at the deadline, and a very popular name for the selling has been Joe Webb. So you figure, wait, that's not the right name. Logan Webb.
Okay.
I just said a completely different player's name.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah. Logan Webb. No, Joe Webb is a football player. Or was a football player, former football player. But in any case, Logan Webb, very popular player that people believe is going to be on the trade market. And so, maybe this is a sign that the Giants think, okay, we need to look at the future of our pitching, because it's probably not going to be some of the guys that we have right now.
And that philosophy of taking pitchers also runs in the family. Zach Manassian is the GM of the San Francisco Giants. Perry Manassian was the GM of the Angels in that draft when they selected like 20 pitchers or however much that was. So something with the Manassians. But to credit the Giants, though, their single A team, the San Jose Giants, won the Cal League last year. They're the top team in the California League this team, and they have the best pitching in the California League right now. They're just recycling these guys like crazy. So they're doing the things the right way, building those arms and building the foundation for their pitching future. And that way you can trade a guy like a Logan Webb and then get more assets in return.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. It's always a strategy. It's just weird how it lags sometimes. But Jackson Flora, who they picked in the first round, another guy, don't think it's going to take him very long to adjust and make it to the big leagues. Now, I don't think he's going to be the instant success that a guy like a Paul Skeens, or if we go back a little bit of ways, like a Steven Strasburg was when they first came up. But I think he'll find his way into the big league rotation in a short amount of time here.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. So that's our draft recap. Congratulations to all those guys. And now the work begins as they sign their signing bonuses. We'll keep track of who signs and who doesn't sign, which there always seems to be some drama around a couple of players who just simply don't sign. I've also noticed this. Sometimes teams will draft a guy with their later round picks that they know is not going to sign at that amount. They'll just go back to school or go to college just so they don't have to use any part of their pool. It's very interesting to see that scenario unfold, but we'll see how that all works out for everybody. And these guys will get their minor league assignments. Some might not even appear this year. It might be next year, their first full league of ball, but we'll see how it all works out.
Absolutely. Looking to cover these guys here that get drafted and could be playing their single A ball in the California League next year. We'll be covering all of these guys on Dirt and Diamonds. It's going to be a fun time.
Absolutely. I imagine you're going to get a bunch of them, especially like the first, second, third, fourth rounders. I imagine you're going to see a lot of those guys.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome to watch. Before we take our break, we're going to have our week in review. We won't go too in depth because we do have a midseason review coming up after the break, but they're just going to look back at what happened this past week and who entered the All-Star break on a high note and who kind of fizzled their way to the mark there. And obviously we talked about one easy one to get out of the way that fizzled their way, the Athletics losing 9 in a row to get to the break. Absolutely got to be devastating for them as an organization to, have developed as they have and yet just struggle so mightily as they got there. Also, and the other two teams that had really rough weeks were teams that were already kind of down and out a bit anyways, but the Royals and the Angels really just kind of solidifying their spots at the bottom. But Freddie, give us some positive ones. Who do you think had great weeks as we entered the break?
I think a team that ended the weekend on a high note was the Arizona Diamondbacks sweeping the Dodgers in Los Angeles. That's huge, and then that's a team we've talked about with potential, trade bait players as well. Ketel Marte, what are they going to do with him? What are they going to do with some of the pitchers that they've got there as well? The week, nothing really stood out to me this week altogether. We had some really good matchups. The Marlins and the Guardians put on a really good series there as well. Cubs playing really good baseball. The Phillies, we've talked about the Phillies every week, I think, for about the last 2 months. They've crept within 2 games of the Braves. And I don't think anybody's going to stop them. And the Marlins are just right behind them as well. Only 4 games behind Atlanta. 2 really good teams. That's a tough division, and you can't count out the Nationals. And James Wood. What can you say about that? That dude just it almost. If you took a bet, like a round robin bet, took 3 or 4 players every single night, it'd be Yordan Alvarez, Ben Rice, James Wood, Junior Caminero, Kyle Schwarber. If you take those 5 guys every night, there's a chance they may all hit a home run on the same night. If not, you're going to get probably 3 or 4 of them hitting home runs on those nights. So it's crazy how consistent they are.
Yeah, absolutely. The craziest stat to me for James Wood is James Wood so far this year has scored, and this isn't hits, home runs, nothing. He has scored as he's the leadoff, and he's got some pretty good guys behind him as well. 89 runs.
That's Ricky Henderson type stuff.
Yeah. Now, in second place is Brian Reynolds of the Pirates, who has scored 68 runs. Okay, so there's a 21-run gap between first and second place. If you go 21 runs behind Brian Reynolds, you get Jazz Chisholm of the Yankees, who has scored 47 runs, and he is there's a multi-way tie. He's tied for 71st.
If you really want to break it down, you could go Juan Soto, 44 runs.
Yeah, but the gap between 1 and 2 is the same between the gap 2 and 71. Yeah. That's absurd. So, we'll see if he can keep scoring runs. I imagine, as long as the guys behind him don't cool off. And, he also hits plenty of home runs, so he could just score them himself.
Yeah.
I think he's either tied or set the national single-season record for leadoff home runs to lead off a game for the team.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I think about the franchise of the Nationals. They really didn't have any leadoff hitters that hit for power like that.
No, the only real
Juan
great
Soto?
lead. Yeah, well, Juan Soto rarely batted leadoff.
Okay.
Usually, the best leadoff hitter I can remember is probably Trey Turner.
Okay, Trey Turner. Yeah.
Is probably the best leadoff hitter I can remember. Of course, all the great players you can remember: Ryan Zimmerman, Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, Jason Worth. They all batted second, third, fourth in the lineup. So and they usually had a leadoff hitter who was speedy, who could get on base, probably played shortstop or center field. But this type of power, to your point, yeah, not many guys have that so far. By the way, home run derby update. Harper did not get it done. So your final four for round two are, you've got Contreras and Schwarber facing off in a versus, and then Walker and Caminero. So a couple of those guys were probably expected. I think you mentioned this before. I think Contreras has been probably the most surprising one of the group.
Man, Harper, I had him over 8.5. He hits 8, and I had Schwarber over 10.5. He hits 10.
Classic.
Fans going home unhappy in Philadelphia. That's not a very good thing.
Yeah. Couple other teams that ended the week, that ended the first half on high notes. The Pirates sweeping the Brewers. That's gotta feel great for them. Get them clear above 500 again. Obviously the Red Sox we talked about, but also the Yankees and Orioles in the American League East, both ending on 4-game winning streaks. The Orioles have won 7 out of 10 to give their fans just enough hope to make them think that they might have a shot at coming back. So we'll see about that one. Also, the Guardians winning 4 in a row, and Minnesota winning 7 of 10 as well. They're very much in the thick of it as well, which I did not expect out of the Twins this year. So good on them.
Yep.
So with that, we are going to take our first break. When we come back, we are going to do our total mid-season review, where we talk about who's impressed us as a whole, who's been disappointing, and maybe give some quick second half predictions. Of course, we also have our upcoming matchups for the weekend ahead. Obviously, nothing to worry about for the next few days, but baseball does kick back off this upcoming Friday, and then we'll go down on the farm. So do not go away. You are listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
From the stadium lights to the stadium shade, the clubhouse crews, the on-field MCs, delicious park food and the summer breeze. Every voice in the game. Catch dirt and diamonds every single week. The California League coverage that you'll seek, with Larry B and Freddie B running the show. Every minor league season for the latest in the California League with Larry B and Freddie B on IE Sports Radio. Keep that dirt flying, and we'll see you next pitch.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Home Run Derby update for the second round. Junior Caminero led it off and he hit 5. Of course, there are fewer swings in the second round. The first round, they got 20 swings. Second round, only 15. So the totals are probably going to be a little bit lower this time around. So we'll see how well that holds against Jordan Walker. We did have a comment come in right as we were going to break from Adam Carnick. Said, with only four AL teams currently with winning records, should any AL teams feel like they're out of the race? Well, first of all, sir, show some respect. There are 5 with winning records, so show some respect, Adam. But secondly, I think you can count the Royals and the Angels out. The Angels haven't looked good at all year, so I don't think they're going to magically, unless they actually pull the movie Angels in the outfield out and they just start winning everything. I don't think that's going to happen. The Royals have looked washed. And the other thing is that, any team that's towards the bottom is just going to at some point make that executive decision to trade at the trade deadline, and that will end it basically for them. So I think those two, and I think you could probably count the Athletics out as well.
I think so. Adam, if you're asking who the most disappointing team is in the American League that doesn't have a shot, I'm going to go with the defending American League champion Toronto Blue Jays. I think you could stick a fork in those guys. I haven't seen anything out of them all season long that proves to me like they are contenders or can go on long winning streaks or anything like that right now. 12 games behind the Rays. They are 2.5 games out of the wild card, but there's just so many teams you got to leapfrog in order to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And that's a good one to point out. So the Blue Jays, they swept the opening series of the year to get to 3-0. Then they were 4-3 on April 3rd after a loss to the White Sox. They would lose the next day to get to 4-4. Since then, the whole season since then, they have not eclipsed 500. This team just cannot seem to get over the hump. And I think you can make that argument for a couple of teams kind of sitting in the middle there, most of the American League West, while we're at it. But I agree with you. I think that just something about the Blue Jays, despite having a Cy Young candidate in Dylan Cease and the leading vote getter for the All-Star game in Ernie Clement, I have yet to see, to your point, the Blue Jays go on a run that makes me think, oh yeah, these guys are gonna make the playoffs.
No, Vlad Jr. has zero pop in his bat. I don't know what to think of them, but to your point, Adam, no. I mean, I think the AL West has 3 teams that are going to compete, and I think the AL Central, I'm going to throw in the Tigers. They have 4 legitimate teams that can still compete. The Tigers were on the free fall last year and blew that huge lead to the Guardians. I think the Tigers this year are going to be a team that's going to do the reverse, and they're going to work their way back up and possibly maybe pull off and win this division, or do they trade Tarek Skubal? We'll see what happens. We got another month or about another 3 weeks to go.
The next couple of weeks before the deadline are going to be key for a team like Detroit that has arguably one of the biggest decisions in the sport revolving around what do you do about Skubal? Do you, if you get hot, do you keep them and try to make that run? Or maybe they come cold out of the break and that seals their decision for them. I do know that if he is available at the trade deadline, he is going to fetch
Right.
quite a haul and be one of the prized pieces for teams to make. But looking at the mid-season review, obviously, what I could have done is I could have gone back to our preview show and gotten our standings and seen how glorious those were, because I'm sure we absolutely nailed it. But Freddie, who have been some of your surprise teams? Who has kind of disappointed you? And maybe give some interesting second half predictions.
Yeah, well, obviously the Blue Jays are a team that's disappointing me. One inning away from winning the World Series to now being 6 games under 500. They're not out of it. I'm just saying I'm just disappointed. I expected more out of that Blue Jays team, especially after repeating. They knew what it took to get through and to compete. The AL East is definitely a very tough division. But I think the White Sox are the story of the American League up to this point. I'm not discrediting what the Rays have done because they are putting up a fantastic season. But what we're seeing out of the Chicago White Sox, nobody expected this early. They've gotten great pitching. Murakami's done, come in here and, I think he's 1 home run shy of Shohei Ohtani's rookie home run record, if I'm not mistaken on that. So the White Sox have a good chance to maybe get into this postseason race, and maybe they can be buyers rather than sellers.
No, the White Sox are definitely a big surprise. And to your point, credit to the Rays as well, leading the American League. I am a little worried because, part of the inflation of their record is an insane home record. They're 35-15 at home in so far, which means 2 things. One, they have more away games than home games the rest of the year, so that's to take into consideration. And 2, is a 700 win percentage at home sustainable? I don't know that it is. I could see the Rays. Now, I'm not saying they're going to fall all the way back out of the playoffs. They're certainly, at this point, to me, going to make the playoffs, but they might regress a little bit from their AL leading mark here, especially if a team like the Yankees finds a way to get momentum back and, charge and challenge for the title. For disappointing, there are a couple of teams I'm disappointed in. The Royals, I thought they'd be better. The Athletics as well, but I'm going to go with the New York Mets. This is a team that I thought
so bad.
Probably foolishly thought would be competent this year, and they are just getting absolutely slacked out in that National League East. They're
one win shy of being the worst team in the National League, and 2 wins shy of being the worst team in all of baseball. I didn't see that at all.
Right. And by the way, credit across the league. Nobody playing a Chicago White Sox of 24 or Colorado Rockies of 25 brand of baseball where you're talking about, record-breaking, performances. Right now, nobody, not even those hapless angels that we keep giving crap to, nobody's on pace for 100 losses.
No, they will be.
There will be a couple of teams to make the mark, but you're talking about, maybe they get to 105 to 108,
Yeah.
Nobody's going to have a 120 loss season, which is refreshing to see a little bit closer to parity and competence across the league, as opposed to, teams just marching out, teams just to say that they marched them out there. In that name. But you're right. The Mets, there are expletives you could probably throw in here.
Poop.
Dog water, whatever. But they've been disappointing, a little bit disappointed, of course, got to say, in my Orioles. Couple of really unfortunate losses. A couple of breaks and they are the third wild card team right now. So I haven't lost all hope. But a tough stretch coming out. They get the Astros, the Red Sox, and the Tigers are their first 3 series out of the break. So that might make or break, or no, let me rephrase that. That will make or break their chances in the American League, because if they lose the series to the Red Sox, for example, that's going to make it very hard to catch them. And same with the Astros, 2 teams that they're behind. Team I'm surprised with, you brought up a good one with the White Sox, the Marlins, of course, as well. But I'm going to give credit where credit is due, because I 2 years in a row, I've cast doubts on this team, and 2 years in a row, they have proven me very wrong. It's the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, man, this team, no matter what they do in the offseason, trade Corbin Burns, it's all right. We'll still make the playoffs. Get half of your starting pitching rotation injured. Oh, we'll make it. Trade Freddie Peralta. That's all right. Mizorowski will be Cy Young next year. Yeah. No matter what they do, no matter who they deal away, no matter who leaves, they just keep getting it done. So props to them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Going on to the National League here, I'm going to touch on the Cincinnati Reds as being a giant disappointment. They started the first month of the season 17-8. Things were looking promising, and now if you look at that point, 26-44 overall. That's unacceptable, and I don't know what to do about the Reds right now. I thought they were going to be a much better team. A surprise in that division are the Cardinals. I think at 5 games over 500. Didn't expect that. Sure. This soon, but we're getting the Jordan Walker that was expected, and other guys contributing. JJ Weatherholt, we already know. He got signed to that extension, so good on him. But yeah, the Cincinnati Reds, super disappointing team. The Dodgers, obviously, no surprise with them. First team to 60 wins. Just get swept. Their pitching, their starting pitching though, still worries me a little bit when it comes down to a short series. Do they have pitching that I don't know where their guys stand as far as the guys who are on injured? They're going to be making some returns here soon. I know Edwin Diaz just made a rehab start the other night, so he'll be back in the bullpen. But as far as the Dodgers starting pitching, that could be something that I think they could be. They may be the ones that land Scooble. I don't know. I mean, Shohei Ohtani's not even having a Shohei type season. He only has 22 home runs right now. I think like 54 RBIs, a little bit lower production for him as what we've seen over the last couple of seasons. But the Dodgers are still top to bottom. I think the toughest team, and I think the team to beat in all of baseball.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about their starting pitching. And by the way, the American League West, the least surprising division of all time, perhaps based on the current results. So little surprise there. They're saying that Glass now has been cleared to begin a throwing program. That's not encouraging for me for a pitcher. I'm sure they'd love to have him back by a playoff push. But you're right. They're going to be in the market to find that starting pitcher to go with Yamamoto, Ohtani, and apparently Robleski, who's come out of nowhere a bit to be that third guy for them. But I imagine they'll be in the Screwball sweepstakes, and whatever other starting pitcher might happen to be on the market. Trevor Rogers of the Orioles has been a popular one discussed. He could be targeted by several teams. I'm sure whoever the Mets have of quality will be out on the market. And maybe, some of these other last base teams, the Royals, I know the Royals have a handful of starting pitchers. I could see some of them getting dealt. The Angels.
A big one, Reed Detmers of the Angels could be a solid left-handed pitcher that somebody can definitely use, to be a number 4, number 5 starter for you.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm sure the Dodgers are probably looking at it like, okay, Robleski, young guy going into the playoffs, maybe he's the 4th guy. Obviously, you've got Yamamoto. You're going to figure out how to put Ohtani in there as well. So you're probably looking at who do you want number 3? And they're also might be looking at, well, what's the plan and what's the expectation for Glass now? If we could get him back by September, maybe we're good, or maybe they plan on using Ohtani more sparingly in the playoffs. Who knows? But they'll have options, and they've got a stacked farm system to deal from too.
Oh,
so
yeah. They sure do.
Yeah, they'll make it work. Moving on now to upcoming matchups. Of course, we've got All-Star Week going this week, but starting actually on Thursday with the Mets and Phillies going Thursday. But Friday is when pretty much all of the series start. What are your matchups to watch, Freddie?
The most obvious is going to be the Dodgers at Yankees. I mean,
yep,
that's going to be the obvious one. But if I'm going to have to pick a side series, I'm going to go with the Marlins and the Brewers again. I think this is going to be fantastic pitching matchups again. The Marlins have shown that they can, hit. Look at what guys like Otto Lopez have done this year offensively. I think he leads the league in hits. He's going to be well over 200 hits when the season is over. Fantastic season for him, and they've got the pitching that can hold. And I think that's what's going to carry the Marlins into possibly getting into the wild card spot. Another series, Tampa going to Boston. You already talked about Tampa having a great home record going to Boston. Boston, is on fire right now, a 9-game winning streak, right? They're not. We thought maybe Sonny Gray would be on the move, but now he's going to be secured if the Red Sox can continue playing this way. I think that's going to be a fantastic series. They actually play a doubleheader on Friday.
Yep. Yes, they do. Yeah, that's going to be a good series. And like you said, with the doubleheader, that will make it a 4-game series. So pretty big 4 games for those two coming out of the break. I really like this one, Cardinals and Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, as you mentioned, a team very much in the thick of it. The Diamondbacks as well. This is where, those teams that are on the fringe, they got to start making moves to get into these positions. And those are 2 teams in the National League right now on the outside looking in, but very much still in the thick of it. Another interesting matchup, Twins and Cubs. The Twins right there. The Cubs obviously having a great season. The Twins are hot. We'll be interested to see how those teams too coming out of the break.
You talk about real quick that Diamondbacks series. They're 2 games over 500 right now. They played San Diego tough, and they just swept the Dodgers. And they really don't have anybody that's having huge seasons. Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, even Nolan Arenado not up to what he used to be as far as his power. Only 12 home runs and 40 RBIs. But they still get it done. I don't know how Torey Lovullo gets wins out of this team with this roster, but it just seems year after year the Diamondbacks are always in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing this without Corbin Burns too, who I don't know if he's going to be back. He did get hurt early last year. So I'm actually looking really quick. Okay, they're saying probably not until September, but imagine they're in the thick of it in September and they get Corbin Burns back.
Yeah, they do need that, because some of their starting pitchers right now, like Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, have astronomical ERAs of 5.5 and almost 7. So
yeah, that's not going to get you very far.
No, it's not. And I thought those would be 2 guys that they would probably be moving on from come the trade deadline.
Yeah. So we shall see how those series unfold. Moving down to the farm, not a ton going on in the minor league world, although we did have the Futures game this past weekend, and it looks like it was Rays catching prospect Nathan Llewellyn. Say that one 5 times fast. Come away with Futures game MVP as the American League won it 6-1. He hit a home run that I believe was probably the deciding factor, the 19-year-old prospect. What were some of your headlines that you had from this past week, Freddie?
the first thing was, I think, the pitching performance by Xavier Rivas of the Somerset Patriots, Double-A affiliate of the New York Yankees, tossed 6 scoreless innings, improving his record now this season to 4-4 overall and lowering his ERA a little bit. Just a fantastic pitching performance by him. But that Futures game, I did watch that. I was intrigued by that. Some of the guys, well, there was one player that's currently in single A here in the Cal League that I had my focus on, and Roldy Brito. He got the start in center field before he was subbed out. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was fantastic, and I love how they do this because you've got guys throughout all the different levels of the minor league farm systems represented in this game, and they played a very good game of baseball. There's so much to learn from, just the interaction with other players and the coaches, and you're sharing a field on a major league stadium, which these guys aren't normally playing on, and I think Jenkins, mentioned something. They did a live interview with him while he's playing center field the other day. He's like, "This is crazy, man, playing in a giant stadium with all these fans." He's like, "This is awesome." And then you get to chat it up with some of these guys and some of these legends. Really makes it a really cool day for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, a cool experience for those guys to get to play in such a game, like you said, in such a ballpark. I also wanted to shout out, and I'm glad you mentioned a local one because I completely, and I would have kicked myself for overlooking this one. Chesapeake Bay Sox pitcher Luis De Leon, the number 4 prospect in the Orioles organization, was named Eastern League Pitcher of the Week after throwing an 8-inning shutout.
Wow.
For the Bay Sox against Akron. He set a career high in innings pitched and pitches thrown, which is great to see. The 23-year-old, like I said, number 4 pitcher in the organization. On the outside looking in of the top 100, although number 3 prospect, Joseph Zirwa, just got named the number 100th prospect in the top 100, so Luis De Leon can't be too far off. But another one in a line of guys that'll be interested to see how they continue to develop and if they make their way to the major leagues in an impactful way at some point in the future. Still only 23 years old though, so he's got time to develop, and I would expect him probably to get the promote to AAA before the season's out.
I think so. De Leon, I mean, he's 6'3", he's a big, tall, lanky left-hander, and he's got good stuff. And left-handed pitching is so valuable in this league. I think he's definitely going to have a AAA call-up probably by the end of the month.
Yep, absolutely. Just needs to keep the walks down. That's the only thing. Walks are a little bit high. If you can keep those down, I know you could probably, if you get a lineup of pitchers, you could probably throw a baseball and hit one that has problems with walks. Now we have time for our Around the Diamond segment. Before we do that, though, another home run derby update. So Jordan Walker did defeat Junior Caminero in the 1v1. So Walker will be in the finals, and we have an interesting battle. Schwarber hit 9, and Contreras is at 8 with 2 swings left. Oh no, he's not. We'll see. He's in the bonus round. You're watching live, so you'll have to tell me if Contreras does enough to knock out Schwarber here. I'm sure that would make Philly fans very disappointed if he gets eliminated, but a little bit of excitement there.
Yeah, actually, I'm on a little bit of a delay on my stream here. So
looks like I think he just popped it up.
Right now, he's at 6 home runs with 4 swings left. Let's see what happens.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but yeah, I didn't expect that out of Contreras. I thought the 2 Philly guys were going to be the guys that took it in this thing, but
yeah, no, and that would have been a very fair prediction since it's their home park.
Well, it looks like if he swings and doesn't hit a homer on the next 3 pitches, then Schwarber will be advancing.
Right.
And he just hit one to Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Man,
hopefully
that was
Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh. By the way, I'm looking at the numbers. It looks like Caminero, despite getting eliminated, has the new Derby high for this Derby, 491 feet.
491.
That is a long way. That one actually did make it to Pittsburgh. In fact, maybe like a couple steps past Pittsburgh, probably at 491 feet. Yep.
Scranton.
So anyways, we have made it to our Around the Diamond segment where we're just going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. Freddie B, do you have an Around the Diamond segment prepared tonight?
I really don't.
Yeah, I like the honesty. Yeah,
I really don't. It's just been, I mean, I'm frustrated watching my Padres. They have, they're talking about a team with no starting pitching. It's just so frustrating watching those guys. The offense is starting to click, but man, seeing them, so far behind already, they shouldn't be in this position with the roster that they've got. But Jen Powell, did you see her? We talk. This is like our umpire breakdown segment. It seems
basically
like
that's what it's kind of doing. The Jen Powell. Yes, I did see the Jen Powell debacle. Was it yesterday or Saturday?
It was yesterday. She rung up Song, called a strike on him. A delayed strike call, and he immediately went to the helmet. She denied him, said he took too long. I don't know how that was possible. And then like a pitch or two later, they call it balk on Kevin Gausman, and I have no idea what that was all about. But she also called a strike on the pitch that he threw on the box. So I don't know what's going on right now. She's the second worst ranked umpire right now statistically, and it's just so frustrating, man. And I think they got to increase ABS challenges to 5 a team, because there's a handful that aren't getting challenged that are so obviously wrong, or they just, go next year and say, hey, we're going to grade all these guys. We've got to go robotic umpires calling balls and strikes.
Yeah. Or maybe if you don't increase it, maybe you increase kind of the forgiveness on the time you have to challenge it. Because we've seen it more than once where, a guy has had a delay because he has like a knee-jerk reaction and he doesn't, get his hand up to tap. And then it seems so arbitrary. As well. Some umps deny it when you're like, that was perfectly within reason. I don't know why, you would even deny it. And, and then you run into problems where, like you say, they have the delayed calls. So the guys are like imagine it's a 3 or it's like a 3-1 and the pitcher thinks it's a ball because you're in the middle of doing this ornate strike call. And, he starts taking his stuff off. And then you're like, oh, strike. And he's like, wait, what do you mean? And then he doesn't even have like the reaction time to like get up and tap the helmet. So I think, the intent is there. I think, now is where you start tweaking, right? You start tweaking the rules to make it make more sense. I didn't really have an Around the Diamond topic either. I would just say I'm excited for the second half of baseball. The next 2.5 weeks are going to be very interesting as we approach the trade deadline. I think, you can look at the draft, can give you some clues about where teams think certain guys in their organization are going. For example, you look at the Baltimore Orioles, who took outfielders with 3 of their first 4 picks. So you got to wonder, are some of these outfielders no longer going to be on the team? A guy like a Taylor Ward, a Leody Taveras, maybe even a Tyler O'Neill if he gets hot. Do they like, okay, well, now we have this reserve of outfielders now. We can move some of these guys. Some of our prospects can graduate up, and then these guys will funnel in right behind it. So I'll be curious to see how that evolves.
Yeah. Two other things I wanted to mention. First of all, Dylan Cease went 8 no-hit innings against the Giants, gave up a hit in the top of the 9th inning. So that was the closest I think we've been to a no-hitter, a single no-hitter this season. And then he's deservingly going to be the starting pitcher for the American League starting tomorrow. But What was your take? And I want to get your reaction on the bench clearing situation with the Royals and the O's. Urkeg, Urseg hit Blaze Alexander. The aftermath of that. Could this be also something that Baltimore can use to rally behind and, take this fight and go on the field and rip off some more wins?
Well, I think the core problem is that Blaze Alexander, living up to his name, was one of the hottest hitters for the Orioles, and the hit by pitch broke his hand, and he's going to be out for a month.
Oh, God.
So, add insult to injury that happened. And now, when a team is hot and trying to get back in it, their hottest hitter is gone. And now they have to also one of their better defenders at third base. You figure Kobe Mayo is probably going to be their most full time now. So we'll see how that works out. Was it a pitch that clearly got away from him? Yes. That component of it, I'm not saying that he wanted to hit Blaze. But it was the series of events leading up to it, namely the fact that he tried to quick pitch him, which is a tactic that Ursig admitted to himself has used many times this season to try to catch a hitter off guard as you try to, the moment they're ready, that pitch is leaving your hand. Now, the problem is that you're also rushing it, and that increases your chance at throwing an errant pitch. And also, if the batter's just getting set, he might not be ready to, properly get out of the way of an errant pitch.
Right.
There is also a decent degree of bad luck in it because the pitch, if it had been like half an inch to the right, it would have hit his shoulder and not broken his hand. But the fact that it was right where it was in the perfect spot to hit his hand and cause the fracture. Blaze was totally justified in being upset. Getting hit with a 95-mile-an-hour pitch hurts really bad. I don't see why Ursig felt the need to step off the mound and walk to him if he, quote unquote, was just trying to pitch. I also felt that Jack Caglione's reaction in his interview after the game was kind of unnecessary. Basically saying, I guess, you're Blaze Alexander, cool, that you feel like you can be that big guy. It's like, okay. I do believe that it was unintentional, but I believe it A, could have been prevented, and B, gotcha. I don't get the reaction afterwards from the Royals. I really don't. Let the guy be mad that he got hit by a freaking pitch and it broke his hand.
Good.
And that's it. No punches were thrown. Everybody else remained completely level-headed about the situation. Right. The Orioles did a good job of getting Blaze out of there quickly. People wanted to see more fire from the team. I don't think that was necessary in that moment in time. I think, get the guy off the field, finish the game, go to the All-Star break. But yeah, let the guy be mad that he got hit in the hand with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. And lastly, why put the All-Star game on the Home Run Derby on Netflix? Get it back.
I've been watching the Home Run Derby this whole time. I didn't know it was on Netflix. I have a Netflix account. I could have been watching it this whole time.
You could have been watching it the whole time, Mike. Thanks to Rob Manfred for pulling out another doozy here. Get the All-Star game back onto ESPN or put it on network TV.
Yeah.
Put it. I mean, they're working with Peacock and NBC this year. Make this available to everybody to watch because it is a great spectacle. Netflix isn't the way to go. No Chris Berman and no national TV. I'm sorry. Got to fix that.
Got to fix it 100%. By the way, Schwarber versus Walker in the finals. Winner will take all. Looks like Schwarber's coming up now, so we will see how that one goes. But in the meantime, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who tuned in online. Thank you to Adam Karnick and Larry B for jumping in the chat. By the way, Larry B did say this Home Run Derby is a good one. We'll be back next week to talk more baseball. And of course, if you're a fan, please follow us on social media at IESR_DMV or at FreddieB_sports. And with that, I'll let Freddie B say goodbye. I'll give him that courtesy.
Oh, thanks, Mike. It was another great week of action. We got a little bit of a break here for the big guys, and then everything resumes again this weekend. Thank you so much, and looking forward to having another great show on next Monday.
Absolutely. I am as well. And once again, thank you all for tuning in. This has been Mike, Pat, and Freddie B for the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.